Welcome to People and Profit, your essential business briefing. Coming up, as the political wranglings over Brexit continue, we'll hear from Northern Ireland about how businesses there feel about the draft divorce deal. They're in every piece of technology we use, so why is the microchip industry going through a rough patch? And move over Italian roast, we could soon be drinking coffee that's been grown in Sicily. First up, though, the political debate over Brexit is continuing. The draft divorce deal has already caused ructions in Westminster, but British Prime Minister Theresa May is continuing her efforts to rally support for it. She's gotten approval from figures including Bank of England Governor Mark Carney, who says the deal would be positive for the economy. But the Prime Minister has also been making her case to business groups like the CBI.
Don't just listen to the politicians. Listen to what business is saying. Listen to what business that is providing your jobs and ensuring that you have that income that puts food on the table for your family is saying. And business is saying we want a good deal with the EU and we want a good trading relationship with the European Union.
Now, one of the big sticking points in the Brexit talks was the position of Northern Ireland and how to prevent the reintroduction of a border with the Republic of Ireland, while also avoiding divergence from the rest of the UK. Northern Irish businesses thus watching these developments very closely. And for more on this, we can go to Belfast and speak to Stephen Kelly, who's head of the lobby group Manufacturing Northern Ireland. Stephen, thanks for speaking to us. When you look at this deal, is it a good deal for businesses in Northern Ireland?
It certainly is. In some respects, it may be regarded as an outrageously good deal for Northern Ireland. We are a massive problem in the middle of these Brexit negotiations. But at the end of the withdrawal agreement negotiations, both the EU and the UK have managed to find a really positive outcome for the economy in Northern Ireland, should that backstop ever be required.
So when you look at then the politics around this, do you think that it can pass Westminster, given that it is a good deal for Northern Ireland?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that business is interested in the practicalities rather than the politics. What we want to do is to encourage our firms to invest more, to employ more people, to sell great products at markets at home and abroad. And this backstop and the withdrawal agreement is the only route in order to get us to that point. The Brexit negotiations will be stuck. The UK will crash out in just a matter of months' time. That will have untold damage to the Northern Ireland economy and probably the Northern Ireland community as well. So these are enormously important negotiations, and it's a really critical time in the UK political scene where we really need the Parliament, the House of Parliament, to support Theresa May and to adopt the withdrawal agreement, which has already been cleared by her cabinet. And
have you spoken to, or your members spoken to DUP MPs and made that point clear to them, because they don't yet seem clear that they're going to support this agreement?
Well, the DUP have a very strong outlook in terms of the constitutional position of Northern Ireland. They have worries that this agreement, should it be enacted upon, would require Northern Ireland to be treated differently to other parts of the UK. But from a business point of view, we don't see the constitutional question as being one which is hugely relevant to trade. What we want to do is ensure that we have access to markets, that we have access to good quality people, and that we can continue to employ lots of people right across Northern Ireland. Do we believe the DUP will change their minds? Probably not. But the DUP are only one of, or 10 of 650 members of Parliament. All those parliamentarians have their own constituency. This is a UK-wide decision, and we would hope that all parties right across the House of Commons would see some sense in this backstop arrangement, and that the UK and the EU can move to the next stage, which is the much more productive conversation around what the future relationship will be between the two, the country and the institutions after Brexit.
Are you hopeful then that that message will get through?
Well, the realities of no deal are pretty stark. The UK is has a globally integrated supply chain, whether that's in food or in our manufactured products. Those supply chains just simply will not work. As an island nation, the UK continues to need to trade globally and internationally. It needs to ensure that it has open and free-flowing borders, both on the island of Ireland, but also in its seaports, particularly in the south of the UK. So the UK needs a deal here. The EU want a deal also. Locking the UK into a long-term future relationship is the right outcome for everyone. No one wants to use the backstop. No one wants to use the provisions that are there in the withdrawal agreement. But at least we have some comfort as a business community in Northern Ireland that whatever the outcome of these negotiations, whatever happens in the future, then Northern Ireland will at least be protected and the peace process alongside that.
Have your members been making preparations for the worst case scenario if that deal doesn't pass Westminster and the UK crashes out without a deal?
They have. So some of our larger firms that are both equipped in terms of capital and money, equipped in terms of strategic direction, have already made investments in other parts of Europe, particularly the Irish Republic. Other firms are sitting on what those investments should be. They're deeply, deeply worried that the UK will crash out of the EU come the 29th of March next year. That is a scenario that will have a catastrophic impact in terms of those investments that they have here in Northern Ireland. So, of course, those firms that have the ability are looking at other plans which involve other parts of Europe.
Do you think that the uncertainty around this whole issue has hurt investment into Northern Ireland over recent months?
Well, it has. When we speak to the banks that we have here, they're telling us that firms are sitting on lots of cash. So they've made some money, and ordinarily that cash would have been turned into new capital equipment, turned into new investments in terms of market development. But they're sitting waiting for some clarity around what Brexit will actually look like for them in 2019. They're desperate that the UK agrees a withdrawal agreement, and with that a transition period that allows them to actually think about the long term in terms of their business. We want to make sure that those firms feel confident to take that cash and to go to other financial institutions and make big investments, which makes their businesses more firm in this Northern Ireland market in the future.
OK, Stephen Kelly of Manufacturing Northern Ireland, thank you very much for speaking to us from Belfast. Next, have we reached peak iPhone? According to reports, Apple has slashed orders from its suppliers for all 3 of its latest smartphone models. That's caused a ripple effect among companies that assemble the iPhone or make parts for it, with many of them cutting their profit forecasts. Industry experts say the wider range and higher prices for the newest Apple phones have made it more difficult to predict demand for the devices into the future. So, which companies are on the line and what's all the fuss about? Kate Moody's been delving into the business of chip making. Kate.
Stephen, tiny components made of metal, glass and silicon are everywhere. Memory chips and microprocessors are crucial in everything from smartphones and tablets to video game consoles and, of course, data processing and storage centers. Semiconductor conglomerates represent a $400 billion industry that powers modern life. Now, some manufacturers like Samsung are household names. Others, like Nvidia and Micron, are likely hidden in your home. They've been among the fastest growing companies in the world in recent years as more people buy more electronic gadgets. Because so many of them are based in Asia, chip makers have been especially vulnerable to trade tensions and tariffs between the US and China. Demand for smartphones has been showing signs of slowing, meaning a sector that was rapidly expanding may now be reaching its limits. The same is true of the cryptocurrency market. Semiconductors are the building blocks of Bitcoin mining centers, which use algorithms to release the digital money. The industry has had a rough year, though, and there's less call for mining complexes. On the other hand, fresh horizons beckon with the arrival of more smart objects like cars. The latest industrial machinery and healthcare trends rely increasingly on high-tech chips, while next-generation 5G technology could open a new chapter in mobile phone development, meaning that chip makers may be down for now, but they're certainly not out. Stephen?
Kate, thank you very much for that. Now, Italy is the home of espresso, but it may also soon be joining the ranks of the world's coffee growers. Climate change has meant that conditions in Sicily are, for the first time, allowing beans to be grown there. But will the taste satisfy Italian coffee connoisseurs? Nick Rushworth has the story.
This Sicilian farmer is growing Arabica coffee plants brought to Sicily from Costa Rica. The planting has gone well. He is waiting for the fruit to ripen.
There are 2 grams of coffee inside each husk. With time, they will gain in aroma and coffee taste. Even the skin is good to eat when they are ripe.
The harvest will be at the end of March and into early April, but before then, the coffee plants must withstand the winter. That's now possible with the climate in Sicily more like what you'd see in Central America than the rest of Europe. Palazzolo is also growing banana trees to protect the coffee plants. The coffee is tested in a nearby village where Isidoro is roasting and grinding a first sample of 100% European coffee beans. 100 grams can make about 80 grams of coffee, enough for 10 cups.
There
is a little acidity, of course, as with most Arabica coffee. There's a little taste of honey as well, due to the fermentation process.
A mellower taste could work well with customers. Italian brands produce 5% of world coffee exports. Sicilian-grown coffee could add to the country's repertoire. It's not on the market yet. However, with 30,000 cups drunk worldwide each second, it could one day be bringing a smile to someone's face, somewhere.
Well, that's it from us for now, but you'll find the best of our global business coverage on our Facebook page, France 24 Business, or you can tweet me with your questions at NewStephen. Until next time, thanks for watching.